Hey all, welcome to today's channel chat. This one is part of a series we're doing on hot button issues in MMOs. We're seeking different perspectives on these issues, and joining us today is someone you very well may know, BuzzCutPsycho. Thanks for joining us, man.
Well, thank you for having me here, Grolo. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So we have been and are going to continue tackling some of the polarizing issues in MMOs today. And based on some of the prior conversations we've had on this stuff, someone in the comments suggested that we get you on here. So here we are, and I'm excited to have this chat.
That's a very smart person. He knows how to get you an audience by having me on here.
Nice. Before we start, just so the folks tuning in have some context, tell us about your gaming background.
Okay, well, my gaming background is quite simple, but long. That's far from a brag, I would say. But I started back with PC gaming in the mid-90s, variety of games here and there, mostly single-player RPGs, the original Neverwinter Nights, various MUDs, and everything on the old internet. But my first actual true multiplayer game I would say I started playing back then would have been Rainbow Six, back on a program called MPlayer. It was kind of like a Steam before Steam as we know it, but it was more of a matchmaking service. And then from there, I played games like Tribes and various other large-scale shooter games. That's what really got me into large-scale gaming was the original Tribes. As far as MMOs go, I dabbled a little bit in Ultima Online. I played on Chesapeake. If anybody here listening played Ultima Online back in the day, I played on Chesapeake, pre-Tramble, of course. Big time ganker, did a lot of that, which is what a lot of people did in UO back then. But it really wasn't until I started playing World War II Online, which was an MMO FPS, and Dark Age of Camelot that I really started to get into MMO games. And of course, from there, I moved on to Planetside 1, and that pretty much set the pace for me where I am today in the online world. That's where I created the Enclave as we know it today, which is my organization, outfit, community, whatever you like to call it. And it's a game that I consider to be perfect, that I take a lot of inspiration and notes from.
Awesome. So we've got several topics to dig into today, but I'm pretty sure the topic that people wanted me to bring you on the show for, we're just going to dig right into that one first, which is PvP. I've watched some of your stuff. Sounds like you got some pretty strong opinions on these things. It sounds like you are a PvPer, right? That's what you play for?
That would be correct, yes.
Yeah. And it sounds like you're the kind that loves to, or is willing to massacre PvEers.
Oh, absolutely. I'm willing to kill anybody in the game for any real reason, usually no reason. I don't think that makes for good gameplay, but it's not something that I'm going to shy away from. It's giving me the option to do so. I'm going to do it. Not only am I a human being, but I'm also a human being on the internet playing a computer game. So I'm going to do that. It's pretty much what everybody used to do anyway, and I think still does, given the amount of complaining going on Spectrum and Reddit and whatnot. But yes, I would say I'm a PvPer, but I definitely don't like Star Citizen PvP much at all. I think it's actually quite bad.
What makes it bad?
Well, it is disorganized chaos. That's a very broad term or very broad phrase as to why it's bad. But it begins from a lot of little problems, which all add up to a big problem. Very happy to go over all of them. It's a bit like pulling apart an onion. When you pull apart one layer, you find another rotten layer underneath the next one. And that's how I would definitely sum up Star Citizen PvP.
Got it. I'm sure we'll get into some of those layers as we dig in here. But let's just dig right into the tug of war that we see on Spectrum and Reddit and other places. The PvE versus PvP tug of war. Obviously, Star Citizen is a game that is aiming to have a large audience full of a very diverse player set. Some of those players, as you've pointed out in some of the videos I've watched of yours, want nothing to do with it. Other players, that's all they want to do, and then you have a spectrum of players in between, I'm sure. Do you think it's possible for these two groups of players to coexist in Star Citizen?
Oh, absolutely. It is absolutely possible to coexist, but ideologically, no, it's impossible. Much like trying to get somebody to see the opposite aisle of a political or religious belief, I would consider PvE and PvP to be the same level of ideological or even theological level of tribalism. People just they don't really want to. So in that sense, excuse me, no, people will never see eye to eye. But from a gameplay point of view and from a mechanical point of view, yes, it's entirely possible for both players to coexist within the same world on the same server, but they have to be separated. They absolutely do. That doesn't mean PvE servers or flagging, both of which I'm very much against. But it does mean safer zones and better systems that are in place to keep them away from each other and deter people who don't want to be bothered from being bothered.
I think I saw you mention in one of your videos that you were not a fan of EVE Online's model, which kind of mimics what you're talking about here, where it has safer zones and more dangerous zones. Can you talk about what you mean by safe zones?
So, what I mean by safe zones is so I do not play EVE Online, but I'm familiar with how EVE Online works to a degree
Yeah.
when it comes to its Concord and its high sec, low sec systems. The reason why it works in a game like EVE Online is because it is not a shooter game, and that's what Star Citizen is. It's a shooter game. Let's take it from an infantry point of view, for example. If there's a player on a ground terminal or a ground facility that I want to kill, killing him is very easy. I just shoot him once and he's dead because the game has, for whatever reason, one shot kills. You can do something similar in Star Citizen with torpedoes, missiles, ramming, you name it, you can do it. The reason why I don't like that system is because once the deed is done, it's done. It doesn't prevent it from happening. It doesn't prevent the outcome. The outcome has already happened. That person's experience has already been ruined. And you are relying on that person coming back after that. So if I'm to say, okay, well, I really want to kill Grolo. He's here in safe space, right? I don't really care what he has. As a matter of fact, I don't want it. I just want to hurt him. I want to make Grolo's day miserable. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to find out however I can do that. And if I have to do it on an alt, I'm going to do it on an alt. If I have to do it on my main and then take a few days off and go do something else, the point is that no level of punishment is going to stop people from doing that short of an account ban, which I think everybody here agrees would be absolutely ridiculous. So no, I don't think copying the EVE Online model, which EVE is a looks like a screensaver most of the time, and trying to put that into what is essentially becoming an MMO FPS game. I don't care if it's got spaceships, and I don't care if it's in space. You can put whatever wordage you want to put on it. But the moment you introduce infantry combat with weapons and a first person view with exit and entries and all that to buildings and ships, you've created an FPS game. So now you need to look at FPS solutions for inspiration. So no, I don't think the EVE Online model 100% is going to solve it. Not at all.
Interesting.
Let me ask you this. Let me interject real quick.
Yeah,
So
please
let's
do.
bring up. Okay, so let's talk about something that was somewhat famous. There was last year. I've done this myself, but last year, an organization, GrieferNet, attacked a ship. It was a 890 jump called the Experience, and they blew up everybody inside of it.
I was on that
Now,
ship.
okay, you're on that ship. Okay, so before that, I did the same thing. I'm not. This is not a contest between myself and GrieferNet, but I did the same thing. I hid in the water. The video's on my channel. I came out of the water, killed the pilot. We torpedoed the ship. Okay. What would a criminal and law system have done to prevent myself or GrieferNet from doing that?
The only thing, well, I think that if you want to do it bad enough, you're going to do it. Yeah.
Okay.
Like in EVE Online, I have played EVE Online quite a bit, and we talked about this earlier in the series. But you do have people who like to grief in EVE Online. They love going out there and blowing up other people's ships, and yet you have traders flying these massive ships full of valuable cargo through high security zones all the time without getting attacked. And I'm wondering why that won't translate, because the only reason that pirates don't attack those valuable ships in high security in EVE Online is because they are sure to lose the assets that they use to destroy the ship afterwards. And the backbone of EVE Online is the economy. And so if you're setting yourself further behind than you are your enemy, that seems like a natural deterrent that works for the most part in EVE Online. And so I've been asking myself why won't that work in Star Citizen?
When did EVE Online come out?
2003, I think.
Where were you in your life in 2003, 2004? Not literally, but like as a human being, as a member of society.
I mean, I don't know. I was a much younger man.
You were a younger man.
I wasn't
with
gray.
a lot less responsibilities. Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you had more pepper, less salt in the beard. Okay,
yeah.
so now next question. Now, I'm not trying to be a smart aleck here.
Yeah.
So you were younger. You had more to do. You had less to do, rather. Excuse me. What other options to EVE Online did you have back then?
World of Warcraft.
Not really the same thing.
I know. I played
Right,
both.
so-
but, yeah.
Okay, but that's good. I'm glad you brought that up. So you didn't really have a whole lot of options. So here we are now in the year 2025. What options to Star Citizen do I have?
I mean, there's nothing
Quite
like
a
Star
lot of
Citizen.
well, there's nothing like Star Citizen. It's not exactly a good thing either. There really is nothing like Star Citizen, not
Yeah.
for the ways that we would want there to be.
Yeah.
But the point of these questions is to get you and others listening to think. There are other options. Star
Mhm.
Citizen, as I stated earlier, has far more in common with a shooter game than it does a space simulator, even though it's set in space. There are many other shooter game options. If you are pulling a player base or a customer base, let's go ahead and call it what it is. Let's call it a customer base from a game such as, for example, World of Warcraft, a game which came out perhaps a year after EVE Online. Well, we know which game was more popular, don't we?
Yep.
So by a large margin. So that was most people's introduction to the MMO gaming world. It was not EverQuest or UO like mine or anything else. It was World of Warcraft. So these people coming to Star Citizen, which is advertised as an MMO, massively multiplayer online. It doesn't matter whether the suffix is FPS or RPG. They see the MMO part, the first three big letters. They are not going to be accustomed to what you would experience in EVE. They're going to be accustomed to what they experience in World of Warcraft, a game which if you do listen to my video, you know very well that I absolutely despise and hate.
Yeah.
Not my kind of game, but they're used to that type of game. So that brings me to the next thing. Star Citizen is approaching what, $1 billion as a project? Okay.
Yep.
Do you think that a cutthroat, hardcore game is going to be able to make it on an EVE Online customer base that costs almost about $1 billion and it's not even out yet?
Yeah.
Whatever, 1,000 employees. This is the basis of what I discuss in my videos. People will accuse me of being a Care Bear, anything but, please. I know the kind of games that I enjoy don't make money. When I'm giving feedback that is in the interest of the product. There is, of course, feedback that I am absolutely biased towards, and there are, of course, visions and ideas I would like to see implemented into the game. But at the end of the day, if it is my goal to help Star Citizen become a good product that I am able to play, and that would be my reward as a good game with a population to play, then I'm going to push for changes or features that have a good chance to push it into the realm of success. So how this all ties together is why it would not work, the EVE system would not work is, well, the simple one is they're two different games. That's the first simple answer. The second answer is you're taking a different mindset. Back in 2004, not only was I a different person, and as were you, but everybody online was a very different person in 2004. I'm pretty sure people were a bit tougher back then, a bit more thick-skinned, not very easily bothered, easily offended. The world has changed quite a bit. And this level of human psychology goes very, very much into how games are designed and how they play. So much so that Sony Online Entertainment, very well known, made it a point to hire a psychologist when developing EverQuest to ensure that players continue to play their game and pay that $15 a month subscription. So, yes, player psychology is a big part of it. So, that's number two, player psychology. Number three is, since we are now in 2025, which is what, 21 years after EVE Online?
Yep.
20, yes, right? You do the math. I'm not very good at that. But 21 years later, well, I can open up Steam. I can find a variety of games I can go play. Games that won't waste my time, games that won't make me single-handedly load a box in for 45 minutes only for the elevator not to work and for me to get nothing done. Games that will not put me in the crosshairs of somebody whom I have absolutely zero chance of defeating in combat because I made the mistake of pulling out a what is that ship? Any one of the whole industry ships, and not a Gladius or any other combat ship. So yes, I have quite a few options, and I think people are going to take those. And when you're, and I'm going to wrap this up real quick. I'm sorry, but when your project is going to be approaching near $1 billion, you as a company cannot afford to push potential customers or current customers towards those other options.
All very fair takes.
Probably a bit more than what you asked, but I kind of try to tie it all in. And if I ramble, please, by all means, tell me to stop.
No. Please ramble away.
I promise I don't love the sound of my own voice.
So I can't help but wonder if the economics of the game made it difficult to do what you're describing, that would have zero impact though. Like, so what you're describing is basically murder hoboism, griefing, whatever you want to call it, where like the 890 jump situation where you described, you had a group of players, they were trying to do a scenic voyage through space, and then you have somebody that comes along and they plant themselves in the ship and they come and they just blow it up with one ship. First of all, there's a number of issues right now, and that is that the game is in a crap state that's even possible to come in and blow up a capital ship with a missile or something. Two, there is no economy in the game. There's no crafting system. There's no nothing. So ships are disposable. It's just an insurance claim away from like getting back on the battlefield. So attackers bear no risk in the exchange of PvP right now. All of the risk is on the defenders usually because they're the ones that are investing the time, the planning, the prep. They're out there buying the ore that they want to haul and trade. They're doing all that stuff, and the attacker just comes along and they throw a disposable ship at you and they ruin your day. But if the situation was different, and if we had an economy and we had crafting and all the things that go into providing in-game value to these assets, and they're no longer throwaway assets, and I don't even know if we're ever going to see that. It really depends on what CIG does with ship sales and all that kind of things post 1.0. But if we lived in a world where it took you time, energy, and money to replace the things that you lost, do you think that would still have zero impact on these types of exchanges?
Yes, I think it would have zero impact. And my issue with, and I'll explain it briefly, but my issue with this line of questioning is we are now entering fantasy land.
Yeah,
I am somebody who discusses reality and only reality. And Star Citizen is a game that is not built upon reality. It's built upon fantasies, dreams, and individual ideas of what may or may not be. Let's be very clear here. This game was pitched by a man who wanted money and needed money to get the game off the ground. This person would, rightfully so, promise you or me the absolute world. If it did not work, you and I would not be here right now having this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have accepted that, and I've either moved on or play the game for what it is, or try to curb their enthusiasm, so to speak, and mold their expectations to better match that reality. Others will protest, throw their hands in the air, and say, oh, well, this guy told me this 10 plus years ago. It's not going to be that way. So everything you said, that went out the window the absolute moment you introduced ships for real life money. The game that you're describing simply cannot exist because I purchased an Idris M, excuse me, from CIG, and I want to use it. It is mine. I bought it. That may sound petulant, that may sound childish, but that is a reality. I am one of the more reasonable people that you will meet when it comes to that. Uh, Others are not going to be so reasonable. Other people are going to say, well, I bought the Vanguard. Why can't I have it? Are you going to tell that person, oh, well, it's a pledge. You can't have it. You just can't. They're not in the game right now. Right, but I bought it. It's mine. You really, really think, now if you say that out loud, do you really think that's going to fly? And how long is that going to fly before somebody with the power to do something steps in and gets involved? You may limit it. They're limiting it right now. I can't have my Idris M more than once every hour if I blow it up. You're going to say I can't have it, what, once a month? You're going to mean to tell me you think that's going to fly? You think people are going to really accept that and say, listen, I backed this program, I backed this project back in blah, 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 blah. And you're telling me I can only have my Idris once a month? The game that you're describing sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
A lot of things sound good in your head.
Yeah.
You know?
You.
Yeah. But then reality comes down and it crushes us. Reality is very heavy. It's a very, very heavy force. And the reality is that game that you're describing that other people have in their head will never, ever be reality. But the reality is there is what we have right now. It's a very strange bastardization hybrid between Battlefield in all the wrong ways, and a lot of other, and Tarkov in all the wrong ways. It's a very, very strange amalgamation of games that are anything but a sim. And to be perfectly honest, I have zero interest in playing a sim game. I don't care what was told to you or anyone else over a decade ago. Sim means something, it's a nothing word. It means a lot of things to different people. But you consider System Shock 1 a sim? People considered it an immersive sim back when it first came out. System Shock 1 created the immersive sim. How about the Thief series of games? Those are considered immersive sims. System Shock 2, et cetera, et cetera. The list goes on. People talk about Jane's F-16. That's a sim, absolutely. Microsoft Flight Combat Simulator, you get the picture. It's a nothing word that means different things to different people. Does sim mean tedium? Does sim mean waste my time? Does sim mean high fidelity? What does sim mean? The purpose of what I'm asking and saying to you is it's hard to have this conversation because nothing that we're talking about has any concrete meaning or definition. And I don't really care what SIG says either. Nobody really knows what Star Citizen is going to be. They say it's going to have base building and crafting. Have you seen base building and crafting? I have not seen it. Yet they call Wicklow crafting. Well, technically, by some standards, that would be crafting. The same way people would consider me bringing materials to the dwarf in Baldur's Gate 2 a crafting system. To me, that's not a crafting system. Not even close. To me, crafting system's going out and gathering wood and building a log cabin. But we might not get that in Star Citizen. So no matter what reality we get, somebody's fantasy is not going to come true. It's going to be very upsetting. And that reality check is going to be hard for them. So it's hard for us to have these conversations, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
I can tell you what we have now. We have a big, stinky death match. Not even a team death match. All right. A team death match is going too far towards something that has some semblance of order and structure. We don't even have that. We have shoot first, don't even bother asking questions later, because why would you? You go to jail, so what? Is jail even a good system? Is jail meant to be a punishment, or is jail meant to be a gameplay loop? Let me tell you, so you talked about the experience. Okay, I'll give you a solution to prevent what happened to you. It's the same solution that happened to me back in Planetside 1. Way back when I decided I was done with that game. Anybody here listening, if you're still here and haven't left from my meandering, feel free to look up the Planetside 1 funeral bombing. Yours truly orchestrated it. There was an in-game funeral for somebody who allegedly had passed away. A Planetside 1 player. I organized a group of bombers and we flew over and bombed and killed everybody in game. Hundreds of players killed. I was immediately banned, and the Enclave outfit was disbanded in Planetside 1. Well, that certainly stopped us from ever doing it again. Is that what you would like for Star Citizen, to stop people from blowing up cruise ships and ruining player events? Would you like that heavy-handed level of moderation? If you do, just be honest about it. Come out and say it. Don't say, oh, well, no. Just say what you truly want. I think that a lot of people do truly want that. I don't. I'm very anti-moderation. Absolutely. Especially heavy-handed moderation like that. But to answer the question, that's the only way you're going to even have a chance of preventing that from happening. And that's still a chance. Because if you really want to do it, just like I really, really wanted to do it to that funeral, people are still going to do it. So the only solace and comfort that those players got after we bombed them all to hell and back was that I was banned.
Yep.
That's a pretty good comfort.
Fair enough. I guess to answer your question to the audience, from me is I don't want heavy-handed moderation. I do want some moderation. I've been calling for the return of GMs for quite some time, but not to ban all forms of PvP that we find uncomfortable. I think the assault on the expedition, or whatever it was called, the 890 jump, I thought that was cool, that it was possible. I think that the implementation of the game mechanics and how easy it was is a big problem, and hopefully that's resolved someday. But I am anti extended griefing. So like if somebody sets their sights on a person and decides to just perpetually ruin their day, like they spawn, I kill them, they spawn, that kind of stuff, I think that needs heavy-handed moderation.
So I'll get to that, but I'm glad you mentioned the mechanics, because this shows that you are a higher level of thinking than most of your Star Citizen players are these days. That you mentioned the mechanics which allowed that to happen. Star Citizen is a game where the aggressor enjoys every advantage because of the complete and total lack of tools an organizer has to organize anything, number one. And the other one would be the fact that we don't have nameplates. We don't have any basic HUD UI elements that other games have. You played World of Warcraft. I'm sure that your group, if you played World of Warcraft, would have absolutely no issue defending itself from another group, perhaps trying to stop you from doing a world boss. You would all be in a raid group. You would all have colors and coded, color codes and raid groups and all that. And you would know who your enemy is. Star Citizen doesn't even enjoy the absolute basics of that. So in Star Citizen, something as simple as HUD elements, party frames, raid frames, things of that nature, which people are so adamant against because it's not a sim. It's not a sim. So what? You want me to go up and ask some guy who I don't even know in a space station? Oh, hi. My name is BuzzCutPsycho. What's yours? Oh, my name is Grolo. Nice to meet you. Come on. Get the hell out of here. Nobody's going to friggin' do that. All right? So this game is kept in a perpetual state of creative and mechanical bankruptcy by the same idiots playing it because you're willing to accept this slop. And they open their mouth and they take seconds and ask for more. Okay? It's ridiculous. If the experience wanted a security team, here's how a real game would have done it. These people would have been able to get onto the ship. They would have somehow ended at the same station. Perhaps they would have joined a big party, and the raid leader, let's call the raid leader, would have set the respawn point to that station, and everybody could, quote unquote, travel there. They can abstract the travel. Maybe they get an abstracted taxi, like a flight path, right? And they end up there on a station, and the raid leader can see everybody who's in his raid group and where they're at. All right? He's going to see their names. And the security force is going to be able to be there. And all this stuff is going to be provided to them, the player, to create the experience. No pun intended. Whereas if you are attacking an event for, we've already used the experience, let's use what I did. Whereas you're attacking, the only effort I had to go through to blow up that 890 jump that I blew up, that was full of people, was run at full speed without a nameplate into the 890 jump, blitz down to the water, which I can apparently breathe under the water and sit there, wait for them to undock, sprint all the way up to the top, kill everybody in the command room, my guys teleport to me with the quantum and blow it up. That's a whole lot less effort than get everybody to sign up, get everybody to fly here, get everybody on board, get the security team over here, get the weapons. You see where I'm going with this?
Oh, yeah.
Star Citizen is the most annoying game to play, and these people think they're friggin' sophisticated because they eat this trash and they settle for this garbage and they look at this tedium and they go, "Yeah, this is a real game. This is a sim. This is not for you kiddies. This is not arcadey stuff for you COD kiddies." And they play garbage. This is why the game is garbage, because they accept this crap. It doesn't make you sophisticated because you don't have HUD UI elements. It doesn't make you sophisticated because you're willing to spend 3 hours traveling in quantum. It makes you an idiot. Whoever told you to get me on was right.
Oh man, passion. I completely agree with the HUD stuff. We need it. It needs to come into the game. I played another game recently, Dune Awakening. I don't know if you ever touched it, but it was
I'm
terrible
very well aware of it.
for the same reason. You have no visibility onto your organization. You can't organize anything outside of a 4-person party. It's an absolute mess. And
you know what's crazy? I played this game back in 2003. I'm going to go back to it. Planetside 1. I could invite people to a party using syntax commands. Everybody in the audience, you know what a syntax command is? That's right. I would type /invite somebody's name, and it would invite them to my squad. And then I could fill that up with up to 10 people. And then I could type /platoon invite to another squad leader, and his squad would combine to mine, up to 3 squads total for a platoon of 30 people that I had complete vision of at all times as a platoon leader. I could then put waypoints down on the map. I could draw on a map, which was mostly just used to draw genitals and inappropriate logos and imagery from history. But it was still there. It was nice to have it. But we had tools. We had things like that. We don't have any of that in modern games. Not just Star Citizen. We don't have it anywhere. When's the last game you played that you put a waypoint down for your party?
I agree.
Not even World of Warcraft had waypoints. You know how powerful something simple as a friggin' waypoint is for people? Very simple. It's right there. I want you to go here.
Yeah.
People take that for granted. People never had it. Imagine Star Citizen. If you could put a waypoint down somewhere, just say, all right, I want you to go here to this part of space. Maybe they couldn't even have to quantum jump to it. Now that would definitely help for, organization, but there's nothing to organize. Have you ever tried in Star Citizen to get like 10 guys to do something?
Oh yeah.
At once?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's annoying. It's so annoying. I used to, when I was in the honeymoon period of this game, I used to get 40 plus people together. And we'd do Jump Town, we'd break up into air, armor, and infantry, and all this crap. And then I realized I was playing pretend. Remember the whole not being in reality thing I talked about? I said, this is all stupid. It took so long to do any of that stuff. So we just stopped. The Enclave never lost the ability to do that kind of stuff. It just stopped doing it because it was a waste of friggin' time in Star Citizen. Because I don't have any of the basic tools. You play World of Warcraft. I'm going to bring that stupid, god-awful game up again. How easy was it to respond to somebody? What faction did you play?
Horde.
Okay, so I played Alliance. How easy was it to respond to a player ganking somebody in Hillsbrad or something? Just hop on a flight path.
Yeah,
go
you
over
just
there.
hop on a flight path and you form a raid or a party.
And people policed it themselves. The faction policed it themselves.
Yeah.
Didn't need a law system for it. Didn't need any weird, complex, risk versus reward, permanent loss, bust your nuts systems to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
You just needed a faction system, a nearby graveyard where people spawned at, and a reason to go do it. And it happened all the time. Anytime there'd be people ganking guys in Red Ridge, and I would show up there with Sulfuros and smash them into the ground. I played a human warrior, and I would do that. Very well known. My WoW exploits are very well known, as I'm sure you'll probably hear when this video comes out. Somebody in the comments will let you know, I'm sure. But I did all that stuff. This game doesn't have any of that. Somebody could say, help, I need help at Everest Harbor. I'll go, well, one, why would I help you? Who are you? You're not my faction. There are no factions. You're not my org. You're just some random idiot. Why the hell would I help you? Why would I? What, would you help him? Would you just go help some random clown at Everest Harbor getting ganked? You said, please, there's a pirate here killing me. Are you going to show up, or are you going to go do whatever it is that you were going to go do?
Yeah, I mean, if they're not in my org, I'm not helping.
Yeah. So that's normal. And that's the kind of low trust, trash gameplay that Star Citizen promotes. Because there isn't a basic level of structure. And I told you at the start of this, it's disorganized chaos. I am a man who prefers structure to my chaos, organized chaos. You have to have structure before you build anything else. And Star Citizen doesn't have structure. It has beautiful assets that they can sell as assets, and sometimes they take the assets and they make them do things together loosely, but they don't actually do anything with any real structure or gameplay semblance or loops. They just kind of put things together.
Yeah.
It's like a child, getting two action figures and smashing them together. That's pretty much what every Star Citizen event is, or every Star Citizen gameplay loop is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't give a goddamn who hears that and doesn't like that either. Because that's exactly what it is. It's amateur hour bullshit. You're sitting here talking to me about an economy, again, Fantasyland shit stuff. If you don't want, I'm sorry about the profanity. Fantasyland stuff, okay? And we're just coming off an event where we can't even get a box to come up off an elevator, or where they got to take ladders. Okay, ladders. They have to roll back a fix for ladders on Evocati because it breaks stuff and doesn't work. We are struggling to get ladders and elevators to work and boxes to move. And you and others, I say you in a general sense, not you, Grolo, and you are talking about my economy, my risk and reward.
Yeah.
Okay, have fun with that, pal. Seen another 10 or 15 years.
Hey, very fair criticism. I tend to take breaks when things are working that way. So you've outlined very much a lot of the problems around this game in these areas. What, if anything, are the reasons why you're here at all?
Well, the simple one is because, there ain't nowhere else to go, right? that's really the simple one. I think you can sum up the majority of Star Citizen players as there's really nowhere else to go. Because you'll always see these idiots talk about Tarkov or Rust, and they go, "Yeah, bruv, Tarkov's like the best game ever, bruv." But they don't play it. They play Star Citizen. They try to turn it into Tarkov, right? Or you see people talking about Rust and how Rust is this and that, but they're here on fucking, excuse me, friggin' cut that out, on friggin' Star Citizen, right?
Yeah.
Why are they playing those games? I'm here because this game has one thing that no other game has, and nobody would ever believe me for why I'm here. It's the fact that I have in theory, potentially endless amount of people that I can play with in my organization. I just got done playing Battlefield 6, right? Big release comes out. Party size is 4 people. I'm sitting in a TeamSpeak server because I use TeamSpeak because I'm not a clown and I value my privacy. No offense. And I am sitting there in a channel with 34 people, but only 4 of us can play together. Star Citizen doesn't have that issue. Now, we can't do anything together in Star Citizen either. But listen to me, hear me out. Technically, we could play together. How's that for an answer? How's that for a brutally honest answer? That's how low the bar is.
Yeah.
Now, I want a game that gives all of those people something to do. Yes, I want a combined ARMS MMO FPS game because that's what Sean Tracy talked about. But then you ask the next guy, oh, well, I want a hardcore game where I get punched in the face IRL every time I die because that's what Chris Roberts talked about. You can ask anybody anything. Star Citizen it's like the end of Kingdom of Heaven, right? They go, what is Jerusalem? And Saladin goes, everything, nothing. Well, that's what Star Citizen is. It's everything and nothing at the same time. It really is. It's absolutely nothing. It's everything and nothing. Now it's mostly nothing, but that's really what it boils down to. So these people, these outfits, these orgs, I don't know, are they trying to live like the glory days of Eve or some crap? Are they trying to get back time? Do they think they can go back in time and relive Eve? Well, it's like I told you, where were you back at Eve 20 plus years ago? Probably a different place. You know what you're not getting back? You're not getting back that moment in time. That moment in time. It will pass. Go outside. Look at a mountain. Okay? You see that mountain out there? I'm not going to say you can go to it like Todd Howard's going to say. That mountain was there before you and I were here, and that mountain will be there long after you and I are gone. All that's there is the time.
Yeah.
And we will never get the time back. It'll forever pass. People, they try to fight it. God knows I try to fight time. We all try to fight time. We fight it by going to the gym and taking care of ourselves and everything else, but time always wins in the end. Yeah. It's indomitable. Never stops marching. So, yes, would I love to be able to go back in time and relive Planetside 1? Absolutely. But it requires a time machine that none of us have. But the world was different back then. The games were different. The people were different. I think a lot of these guys, I think that Star Citizen has a major issue with feedback. I think the feedback that they are given is absolutely terrible. I'm absolutely biased towards my feedback. 100%. Just like I told you earlier in the conversation. My feedback is I look at it from a point of view of a customer, as somebody trying to make money from customers. Longevity. Ultimately, what's best for the product is best for me if I want to play Star Citizen. Because what am I going to do? Am I going to play with the same 10,000 people?
Yeah.
A game like SC requires hundreds of thousands of people to work.
Yeah.
Why are you here?
I'm not here for the game that we have today, I'll tell you that. That's why it's so easy for me to talk about the future, is because that's the game I'm here for. And you might say I'm living in Fantasyland. It's true, but I actually dip my feet into Star Citizen not all that frequently. I'm not like an everyday Star Citizen player. What I focus on is just practicing the loops that are in the game, and I kind of ignore everything else because my plan is that if the game that I want is ever fully realized, which I fully expect it to be in time, I don't know what that time looks like, but I want to have the skills in the loops whenever that ships. So like I'll go out and I will just practice the mining loop just to make sure that I know how mining works. I will practice the salvage loop. I will practice the SRTs and all that stuff. But I approach everything in isolation. I understand that the connections are not there. I would love the connections to be there, but they're not. And so I just go and this is the thing I'm doing today. And then that's it. I log out. And if I encounter something like 318 or 3181 or this last 3.22 where the missions weren't working, the elevators weren't working, I just log out for a month.
I think it's very wise. I think that's the correct way to approach it.
Yeah.
I am here for what it also. I think it's pretty much a fair thing to say. I don't think that's Fantasyland. I think that's actually very much a reality. Because that is the most reality way to look at it. There are people that are here because they think that they are practicing for the next EVE Online. There are people that are here because they can't cut it anywhere else. There are people that are here because in their mind, in their deranged lunatic brain, Star Citizen is a playable product. And, being playable, it turns on usually. But that's about the extent of the playability. I think any reasonable person is here to wants to play a game where, like you said, they're all tied together. Unlike you, however, I do not believe that we will see it tied together in a way that we think it will be anytime soon, if at all. I think that if you are going to have something as complex as an economy, which I don't think SE is ever going to have, and quite frankly, I don't care if it does or doesn't, to be totally honest with you. Uh, if it doesn't have, it's not going to have an economy. I don't think it's going to have base building in the sense that we think it will have. I think it will have a very much reevaluated type of base building. And I think as time goes on and the game continues to run into hurdles like they ran into with this box, reality will hit them too. And there will be a drastic scale back in scope. I think that's what's going to happen. And I think it'll be better for it. I think there's nothing wrong with that because whereas you're here to practice loops, I just want to play something that's a game. That lets me play with a lot of my bros and have a good time. And that's how low my standards are now.
Got it. What do you think the scale back's going to look like? I mean, do you have any predictions at all, or you just think what they're painting is too far out there?
I think the scale back is going to be the game is going to essentially become a theme park. I think that the sandboxy elements will be drastically reduced. They'll probably still be present to a degree, but I think you're going to see if people are thinking Eve, they should probably be thinking more World of Warcraft. That's what I'm thinking, because if you ain't got the sandbox yet. 10 was it? When did this crap get started? 20 something? What is it? Or 2012? Yeah, 2012. If you ain't got the basics of a sandbox yet, and you started this stuff in 2012, you're never gonna get it. We have more theme park than we have sandbox. We have more theme park in every facet of the game. Cargo, that's just a fetch quest. Kill bounty hunter, that's just a kill quest. PvP, that's nothing. I mean, that's just ganking somebody in Red Ridge. There is nothing sandboxy about this game. I had more chances. What's funny about that too is I had more sandbox interactions in my time leading a world PvP guild in World of Warcraft, playing pretend on the RP PvP VentureCo server than I've ever had in the years I've been playing Star Citizen. There was nothing mattered, right? But we pretended it mattered. But that was far more sandboxy than anything we got now. Because we had structure, we had the tools to create something. It goes back to what I said. We don't have tools in this game, man. We don't have meaningful respawn points. We don't have factions. We don't have places to go, the hot spots to fight over. We don't have any of that stuff.
We can agree there.
This game is 100% theme park. Anybody who tells you otherwise, they're huffing the copium, as the kids say. Grade A copium. Star Citizen is a theme park. Get that through your heads. There's no sandbox here. Period. Done. The end. I don't care if you trade weapons with some idiot and his stupid ass organization. Okay, you're playing pretend. That is not a sandbox. Those weapons don't matter. None of that stuff matters. And making them break and deteriorate, I don't care. They could do that. Star Wars Galaxies did that. But what are you going to do to create this theme park, huh? And let me ask you this: what do you want, Grolo? What do you want as a sandbox here? How are you going to get a sandbox?
I've outlined this pretty clearly in some prior videos I've done, but like the necessary components for a sandbox in Star Citizen. I mean, primarily it comes down to territory control. That's number one. Number two, and part of territory control is obviously base building, station building, whatever that looks like, to claim my stake in the verse. And then I got to be able to defend that. There has to be conflict that is trying to take that territory away from me. And obviously there has to be an economy backing everything. Without that, there is no sandbox.
I would say you are correct. And you think we're going to get that? How about that? You think we're going to get that?
Yeah, I think we will. I don't think it's going to be in the next 2 or 3 years. I think it's, 5+ out.
You think people are going to tolerate just 2 more years? Just 2 more years? Just 2 more years? It's always just 2 more years.
I haven't been with the project long enough to be kind of burned by that, so My perspective might be a little different than anybody who's been here a long time. I joined in 3.17.
Yeah, I did the same actually. I started playing in 3.17 back when the servers were 50 players.
Yep.
That's when my honeymoon started with Star Citizen. I backed it like in 2014. Only because of, or was it 15? Anyway, it was whenever they added FPS combat, because I wasn't going to touch the game until it had FPS combat. And then they're talking about combined arms, and that's what got me into it. But it's funny you're talking about base building and territory, and I'm agreeing with that. But I still think that they need to have factions on top of that. I think people got to know their friend from foe.
I mean, we need to be able to know friend from foe, no doubt. But if that is tied to your organization, I think that can work. Or alliance. I mean, there's nothing saying that the factions could not be player ran. Like Evil Online is a good example where they have. I mean, there's thousands of organizations or companies, whatever the hell they're called over there. But then the number of alliances that are actually recognized, only, 5, 6? Something like that.
What is a blue donut or something like that, Neve? What is that?
I have no idea.
No idea. Okay. So here is what I've been told to about Eve is Eve is a game that people love to talk about, but seemingly just don't like to play. It's a game where people love to talk about Eve, but they're not playing Eve. And it's described as this really boring game until something happens, and then it goes back to being boring.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I see.
I definitely don't want Eve 2.0. But there are facets of Eve that I think we could draw inspiration from.
Well, it's funny because I always hear certain people talking about wanting Eve 2.0. But people say that. They're very open about they want Eve 2.0. And if they're not open about it, they're very subversive about it. Here's the thing. Eve, in my opinion, is a game that I never played, only read a lot about and have talked to people who have played it. Simply just doesn't sound like a fun game.
Yeah. And
not just from a mechanical point of view, but just from a way it's played point of view. It does have factions from with what research I did, and perhaps somebody listening here can talk about that. But excuse me, I hear that the faction warfare in Eve is some of the most popular of the PvP in that game. Now, I cannot back this up because I don't play the game. But perhaps is faction warfare popular PvP in Eve?
I don't know. That was after my time.
After your time, okay. Well, how come you're not playing Eve? It's right there if you want it.
I mean, I did log in just a couple days ago, actually, but
what did you do?
I ran a trade route.
You ran a trade route?
Yeah. It's not exciting the way that Star Citizen is. It's more of like an AFK game for me. Like if I'm doing something else, it's a game I can play on my second screen, It's not an engaged, like, heart-pumping. For some people it is, I guess. I guess if you spend all your time in there and you're like at the top of some elite organization vying for territory, maybe it's really exciting. I don't know. I've never played it at that level. The way I play it, it's pretty AFK centric.
I got you. Well, that sounds awfully boring, but I am glad that you mentioned factions and alliances and things like that. So, I did play a game that was like that. It was very similar to that recently too. It was a game called Throne and Liberty, Korean MMORPG. Did you ever play that?
I never played it, but we had some people that did.
Okay. Did those people ever tell you what sucked about it? And don't say the cash shop. I don't want to hear the cash shop or pay to. I want to talk about real mechanical reasons why it sucked.
The only thing I understood to suck was the area denial.
Okay, I think I could see it. Okay, continue. Who caused the area denial?
The largest guilds.
Right. So I got to play. So this was a game. Well, I'm going to move my microphone. Sorry about that noise I created there.
All right.
So I was going to play thrown in Liberty with my organization. We can easily field up to 1,000 people, not a problem. The only reason why we did not play it is because I had to have shoulder surgery, which I recovered from. Thank you for asking. But we did not play it. I did, however, play it on the Korean client, which required me to get a Korean account and the whole nonsense, right? But I got the Korean client, and I played on the Korean server. And I got to experience firsthand what it's like to be the guy that's having the area denied. There was this big monster. They would come up every few hours or something. And that's how you progressed your character and you grew in power in that game, is you killed these world bosses. Think World of Warcraft world bosses.
Yep.
Well, since there were no factions, what would happen is the guild or the alliance that was in power and in control would go ahead and lock it out to everybody. Now, somebody might say to you,
well, actually, why don't they just get together and fight against them?
well, we all know that they're not going to do that, right? Poindexter.
Yeah.
So those people are standing on the outside of the arena, which is where the bosses are always in, like some kind of arena. If they go into the arena, they are instantly killed by the alliance. So they're not going to go in. But let's now hypothetically, talking mechanics here, let's say that those players who are not in an organization and not in an alliance, they say, hey, a Spartacus type fella rises up and goes, hey, let's go in there and give them the what for. So they all just miraculously, Fantasyland here, run in there at the same time. What's going to happen? Well, they're going to be hostile to each other because they're not in an alliance or an org. The game's going to recognize that. They're still going to probably get killed by the people that are doing what they're doing. And 3, they're just going to quit the game. So that's going to be their experience. They're not going to do any of the content. Unlike certain people that are advocating for this alliance system and player-controlled anything, I have been the man on top in this. Also, for those who doubt, feel free to look up my time in New World. Just look up BuzzCutPsycho Enclave. New World, you'll find some funny stuff, some controversial stuff, and some real stuff. But I absolutely annihilated a server in that game. We transferred. We left our server. It was quite boring. That one was already dead. So we moved to another server to kill another server in that game called Metnol. So the Eye of Terror opened up on this server, and our guild came in. We took the main town, which was called Everfall, and we taxed the hell out of the server. All trade went to us. We got richer. Every town we took from our enemies, we taxed it, and we didn't pay the bills. Why didn't we pay the bills? So that everything rotted away and decayed, and we let their towns die. We only kept Everfall. No matter what anybody did, it went through me, and it went through my community. We ran that show until that server died. That is what happens when players are put in power. Again, it is not 2004. Whatever grand story you have about the alliances and the great wars and EVE Online happened at a different era at a different time. People now, they're going to go do something else. They're not going to put together an alliance like it's Game of Thrones and go topple somebody. That's why you got to have structure. You could still have a sandbox and still have factions, but there's got to be a structure in the game that the game enforces for a lot of this to work. I'm sorry, I just never seen that system work. I could even show you my age and go back to Shadowbane. You ever hear of Shadowbane? You're an older fella. You ever play that one?
I never heard of it.
Never heard of it. There's a reason why. Same thing. No factions. Player alliances controlled everything. Locked everybody out of stuff. Game died. EVE is the only one that was the exception. Are we going to hinge a near $1 billion product on an exception?
No, and what you're describing is exactly why I say I don't want EVE 2.0. I agree with you on this being problematic. I was in New World. I saw guilds like yours. It might have even been yours destroy servers. But the one thing I like about the economic vision from Star Citizen, and I understand this is fantasy, but if they succeed in implementing what they're outlining, is that 90% of the economy is not player-driven. Like, that's the big departure from EVE Online. In EVE Online, 100% of the economy was player-driven. And so it was very susceptible to what you're describing. And I think that, yeah, they cannot hinge the game on that approach.
I like what you're saying, but then my question would be this: how do you have an any percent player run economy where I just bought a ship?
I agree. That's a huge problem.
You can't take it away from me.
I can't. I don't have a solution for it. I have been advocating that like ship sales must end whenever this game launches, or even sooner. My hope would be that like they could launch Squadron 42 and end ship sales. I don't think it's going to happen. That's what I would love to see. I also understand that there was not a better way to fund the game at the time. I don't even know if there is today. So we're kind of stuck with trying to polish this turd somehow.
Yes, we are. That's why I say build the game around the idea of the ship sales. Because that's the most realistic approach I think they could take.
Yeah.
And that's going to mean being a little less hardcore. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're a smart guy, Grolo.
I appreciate that, boss.
You should hopefully be going places with your channel. I mean that.
I appreciate that. I feel like we've beaten the PvP thing to death and a few other topics. I would love to get your take on another hot topic, and that is group play. As someone who has an org that can be up to 1,000 people, you're obviously a hardcore PvPer. You love this kind of thing. Do you have strong feelings on group play in Star Citizen? I'm talking about the tug of war that you'll see on Spectrum, where people are like, I'm a solo player, I bought a Javelin, I should be able to fly my Javelin, versus the ones that are like, no, we need multi-crew play, we need stuff locked behind group content, we need difficult content that requires groups of people to come together, otherwise it's not an MMO.
I think group gameplay as it currently is in Star Citizen sucks. It goes back to having no tools. We've already covered that.
Yep.
But because there's nothing of any meaning or value that groups can do, everything you do is separated and divided amongst a group, which is the antithesis of group play. You know, it's an anathema to it, as a matter of fact. So, no, I don't like that. I would prefer group play to be encouraged, and I would like it to be rewarded. I would, however, not like it to be mandatory. This comes from somebody who plays in a group all the time. Solo players make up the majority of people in these types of games. And they make up the majority because you can't force somebody to do something, no matter what. I have a theory on why players now are more solo-oriented than ever. Solo players used to be I'm going to call them the minority in MMO games of old. It's a couple reasons for that. The first reason is that if you wanted to make a guild back in the old days, there was a vetting process. It was not intentional, but it was there. You had to have a .com. You had to have forums. So now you're paying for forum software. You're paying for a website. Okay. And you're doing all the work that goes into having those two things. The next thing you have to do is you have to pay for a voice over IP program, Ventrilo, TeamSpeak, etc. So now you're paying for three things. You've already weeded out a significant portion of people. I think everybody here listening can probably agree that free-to-play games attract human filth, really. They truly do. The lowest of the low, the dumbest people on the lower end of the socioeconomic ladder. Go ahead and play Dota 2 or League of Legends and go ahead and try and argue that against me. You will find that you are wrong. It's a simple fact. They do. So current guilds and organizations are essentially the free-to-play version of gaming communities. So Grolo here, normal human being with family and children, decides, yeah, I'm going to join a guild. He gets into a guild, and the guild is run by an absolute dumbass. This dumbass could be making Grolo do laps around Stormwind. This asshole could be maybe trying to make Grolo pay a tax. Let's say that's Grolo's first experience with a guild. That's very likely his last. Star Citizen is no different. Star Citizen is a game that is run, that orgs are largely run by morons of the highest degree, the highest order of stupidity out there. They vary from milsim larpers to delusional morons To people that think Star Citizen is some esport and demand that people train in AC hours and hours a day, those people are all very dumb, and those are what most of your orgs in Star Citizen are. So if you're here and you're a tourist like Grolo is, and you happen to join an org that wants you to muster on the owner's Idris at 7 a.m. every friggin' Saturday for inspection, you're probably not going to want to join another org ever again, and you sure as hell aren't going to want to do org activities. That is why so many players in games are solo now. So how does that tie into everything you asked and what you talked about? Solo play should be absolutely 100% accessible to everybody in the game. And the simplest way to do that, and why does solo work in other games? Factions, 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 factions. You want to go and do the friggin' worm? You want to go play with your worm out there in Pyro? Well, you got a faction fighting for it. Go over there, you know who the enemy is, you fight with them, you're around people, you're still solo, you're never going to go see those idiots again, you don't care. All you know is they're not going to shoot you, and you're not going to shoot them, and you're going to go do the worm, and you're going to leave. Without factions, none of the basic systems are ever going to work. So your choice is join an org and do whatever the hell they tell you, or don't play at all. That's it. Don't play at all. So let's go back to the customer argument. Let's go back to the product argument and discussion. Is it good business to tell your customers if you don't like it, don't play? There was a game that did that. 2 games that did that. They didn't do very well. Battlefield 5 and Battlefield 2042. Oh, you don't like black female German soldiers in World War II? Don't like it, don't play it. Nobody played it. Oh, you don't like the direction we're taking 2042 with operators? You don't like it? Don't play it. Nobody played it. Is that what you're going to tell your customers? Don't like it, don't play it? Sounds pretty anti-business to me.
Yeah.
It's easy for me, Grolo, to tell another player. You don't like it? Don't play. I said that in my Pyro video. You don't want to get ganked? Don't go to Pyro. That's a whole section of content that people can't do.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there are more people out there that are willing to dip their toes. They're group curious, right? We'll call them group curious, right? They might want to dip their toes into it and join a group or do something, but they got to have a little bit of foundation. The game's got to support that.
Yeah.
The game doesn't do that. So they end up being it's completely binary. You're either solo or group. That's it. No in between. Did that answer your question? Is that good? Is that a little too ranty?
No, it answers my question. In general.
Okay. In general, yes. So, but you want something more specific about SC? I think everything in SC should be accessible to solo players, yes.
Yeah.
I think it should be enhanced by a group, though.
Yeah. Specifically, I agree with you. Like, I think that the more things that are accessible to solo players, the better for everybody. The more healthy the game is going to be. The only areas that I find challenging are areas in which, if you are optimizing for the solo experience, you are causing detriment or harm to the multiplayer experience. I think that's where things get tricky. And so,
you're absolutely correct.
Specifically in Star Citizen, this comes down to multi-crew for me. If I can effectively pilot an Idris by myself because of AI blades or whatever the hell CIG is going to do, then why would I ever bring 8 people in an Idris versus 8 Idrises?
So you're correct. So I have always been, I used to be against AI crew. CIG's unwillingness to understand, change, or balance multi-crew to be interesting has led me to being 100% in favor of NPC crew for the majority of the positions. The majority. Turrets, etc. I also think that a lot of players outside of the competitive aspect of it would enjoy managing a crew, paying their salaries, customizing them. Again, you're a WoW player, right? You play that stupid expansion, Warlords of Draenor?
I never did, actually, no.
Oh,
I quit in Cata.
Oh, you're based. All right. Well, anyway, there's this stupid thing where you sent little NPCs out on missions, you recruited them, you collected them, right? Like Pokemon, right?
Mm-hmm.
I could see people loving the idea of hiring NPCs with stats and leveling them up, like getting a really good turret gunner and having them walk around and make use of your usually large and empty, barren capital ship. I think that's a great opportunity for gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think players are going to want. There's always going to be that one guy who goes, "Oh, I'll be a turret gunner, boss." Yeah, there's always going to be that one guy. Here's again the reality: people bought their own ships to fly them, man. All right, they bought their own ships to fly them.
Yep.
Do you want to be my indentured servant and sit in my crappy turret gun? It sucks. Probably not. Probably not. So that's why I'm in favor of NPC crew. Any other game, I am all aboard the multi crew. If this game's got a tank, you've got a driver, a gunner, and a commander. You don't have the driver doing everything. But in Star Citizen, I am because it doesn't act as a force multiplier. You familiar with the phrase force multiplier?
Yeah.
Okay. In my video, I often say 1 + 1 = 3. And the idea behind that is that when you put two people together, they're worth three people. It's not an exact mathematical equation. It's a theory. It's a design philosophy. SC does not have that. So in the game's reality and its current state, I am 110% for solo Idrises and NPC crew because it's only fair. Because I've been at the mercy of the solo Gladius in my ships forever, so to speak. But if something was to change and a fully crewed Idris could be repaired internally, very hard to bring down. If the fully crewed Idris turrets were godly turrets, I'm talking really godly, then yeah, I would be willing to go towards that route of enforcing multi-crew gameplay. But as it is now, I can't.
Gotcha. So as things stand, you say bring the 8 Idrises.
Yeah, I think. Well, yeah, I do because the 8 Idrises is to me, it's not just a vulgar display of power. It is a message to SIG and their design. And it should be a wake-up call. The first question I'd ask is, well, why are these people bringing in Idris? Why are they soloing an Idris?
Yeah.
That would be my first question. And what about it that makes them do that? Well, it comes right back to square one. Getting guys together sucks. It's annoying. People would probably be more willing to multi-crew if I didn't have to fly around the universe and playing taxi first. People are going to want to hear that. The more systems, no other game has this issue. And it's hard to talk about because people always bring up stupid shit like realism and immersion and sim when you talk about good gameplay mechanics. If again, I could spawn my Idris and people in my party could, pay, quote unquote, a flight path, quote unquote, to fly them out to my station. They pay their money, screen fades to black. Use your imagination. You took a space taxi, right? Or a shuttle. And now you're at the station getting my ship. Yeah, so yeah, I am totally on board anything that makes organization easier. This game doesn't have that. So if you want to fully crew Idris Grolo, and let's say you don't force all of your guys to be bound to like her L1, like we do. We force them, okay? And we get on and we go, all right, we're doing this event early before. If you just want to play the goddamn game, how is it going to take you? Guys are going to be in Pyro. Guys might be in Microtech. By the time it's all said and done, maybe it's like 30 or 40 minutes. That's a game session of itself. A Battlefield 6 match is like 25 minutes for a 64-player Conquest match. Start thinking about time, everybody. Think about time. Think about that thing I told you about the goddamn mountain outside.
Yeah.
Start valuing your time. Start understanding your mortality, for Christ's sake.
We picked her L1 too. That's funny.
It's center. It's the center.
Yeah, that's why we picked it.
See, everybody, told you, Grolo. You're smart. So's your group.
A little bit ago, you had said I had asked you why you were still in Star Citizen. You said, where else is there to go? You've played New World, it sounds like. You played Throne and Liberty. You've played a bunch of stuff. Why? And I don't know if you played Dune Awakening, but I did. And all these MMOs, even whether you call Dune an MMO or not, it's besides the point. But all of these
Absolutely
games,
not.
yeah, all these games are coming out and they're following the same pattern. You get 1 million people day one. A month later, you're at 5% of your prior cap. Like, it wasn't always like that. I remember a time when MMOs had this trending up graph for a while. I think you've outlined a lot of issues already that might be contributing to that, but could you summarize what you think is wrong with all these game launches?
MMOs initially were an outlet for social interaction. I would frequently log into Dark Age of Camelot, Star Wars Galaxies, or even PlanetSide 1 just to talk to people. This was a time before social media, which I do not use, but it was a time before social media, and they had a very important social aspect. That is forever lost to time. No game can force that. No game can encourage that. That's gone. If you wanted to do that in a video game format, you now have better options. You have VR chat. VR chat is essentially a tavern from an MMO game, if you think about it. If you really think about it and you look past the degeneracy and the furries and all that stuff that goes on there, that is essentially like going to a tavern in an MMO to meet people, except you have far more player customization and far more representation of your avatar. So that's replaced that. The second is, I believe, the other role that MMOs filled, which was persistence and player creation, has been replaced by the survival game genre. I can get a pretty damn close MMO feeling in a game like Rust or, which I don't play, by the way, or Conan Exiles or something like that, where I'm building and things of that nature, or even Minecraft or Vintage Story. You kind of get that same thing. So you get that persistence and that building in a world. So they've been replaced there. So when you strip it all down, your MMOs now are basically garbage World of Warcraft, do a raid on Tuesday, and go play something else. That's not a very good model. It's not an MMO to me. So that's going to hurt. They've been largely replaced. So why you don't see the trend anymore, and why you see the rapid decline, goes right back to what I said earlier. Options, man. Options. There's always a new game coming out. There's always something better coming out. There's always something new to play. Back when EverQuest came out, 1998, what were your MMO options? Meridian 59, UO, Ashran's Call. Mm-hmm. What's funny is those games all coexisted, by the way.
Yeah.
While EQ was out, they coexisted, including Dark Age of Camelot. They were all different, and they filled a different niche. So these MMOs could coexist. It was after World of Warcraft that everything just stopped. There were no other options. The closest you ever got to replacing World of Warcraft was Rift. And that ended up going to hell with the patch that brought out Hammerknell Fortress. When people realized, like, hey, maybe we don't want a hardcore raiding MMO after all. Because if you're going to have a hardcore raiding MMO, you might as well just go play friggin' WoW.
Yeah.
Star Citizen has one thing that no other game has. People keep talking about the spaceships, blah, 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 blah. No. It ain't the spaceships or the porter potties inside of them. It's scale. And I'm not talking about scale of universe either. Potential player scale.
Yeah.
Do not underestimate how attractive it is for players, new and old, to see scale in a game. To be bewildered by the sheer mass of virtual humanity before them. That is one thing that blew people away with Throne and Liberty. Going to the first town and seeing quite literally hundreds upon hundreds of players in one area on the Unreal Engine. And they're running very well, too. Now that game fumbled with what it did with those people. Star Citizen hasn't even begun to do anything with those people. Star Citizen is a game that cannot truly achieve scale in its current state because the moment there's like two capitals on screen, the game friggin' goes to hell, performance-wise.
Yep. We've talked about that a lot here.
Oh, yeah. So the game wasn't made to be this. The game is realizing that it wrote a whole lot of checks that its ass just can't cash. You can still love it. You can still like it. You can still enjoy it. But you got to be real with it. It's a turd.
You were earlier. You mentioned building the game around ship sales. This was one of the last things I wanted to pick your brain about. But that is microtransactions, in-game purchases, pay to win, pay to skip, all the stuff that is in games today that wasn't way back then. What's your thoughts?
Pay to win's a very subjective term.
Yeah.
Some people will call pay to skip pay to win. The reality is that the pay to win can of worms was opened on the Western world a long time ago, and the Western world has become accustomed to it. What was once normal in the East was frowned upon here in terms of gaming, and slowly over time became over here, and now we just accept it. I don't care about it anymore, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't. I don't think a lot of people do. I think vocal people care about it. I guarantee you that if Throne and Liberty was a good game with good mechanics, its quote unquote pay to win would not keep people out of it. The mobile phone market, which is a massive market, which I do not participate in, full of pay to win games. Very, very blatantly pay to win. People still do it, you know. Where is it in for you? What are we going to start calling? I know what you're talking about. You know, the blades, right? Oh, everybody made a big stink. You got these morons coming out because it's Star Citizen content's kind of dry. You know, you got to find something to bitch about to get your views and to keep things going. That's why I hate YouTube. It's a joke, but that was a piece of low hanging fruit. On a dry week. In terms of news, it's like, oh, these blades are coming out, and I get to go blah 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 blah. And you can only buy them. Brother man, let me tell you something. That pay-to-win train left the station long time ago. Very long time ago, we've discussed. So you're going to sit there with a straight face and look at me in the camera with your stupid-ass looking face. You're going to say, well, this is just too far. We can't support this. We got to take a stand, and SIG has got to stop this. But you're totally... Where were you when people were selling the Idris? Where were you when people were selling any of these ships? Where were you? Nowhere. It's not a big deal. It doesn't matter. The moment you sell to me true pay to win, if I had to define it, what it is to me, because again, it's subjective, it's that you, Grolo, you pay $15 a month. And the only thing I can do is either be killed by your character because you're so powerful, or work on your farm as a free-to-play player.
Yeah.
And hope that you give me some scraps. That's it. That's how I define pay to win. And unless one of those two things are happening, either literally or metaphorically, then I don't think it's pay to win. Be very careful about what people bitch about on YouTube. For those of you listening, YouTube is a terrible platform full of grifters and a lot of very dishonest people. And when people get you into a fervor, it's because we live in an attention economy, and they want that attention. The algorithm is the new god for the human race these days, and people will treat it as such, including making offerings to it. So when you see something out there like that, think long and hard. Consider the source, consider the topic. That applies to Star Citizen as well, because this game is a big old lol cow. People take shots at it all the time, Grolo. People have been taking shots at Star Citizen for a very long time, and for very good reason. Yep. Always gets the views. People want this game. Listen to me very closely. People want this game to fail like no other. They want it. They dream of it. They fantasize about this game failing, and it's for a couple reasons. One of which we already know is how long it's taken, but it's the people that play it and how friggin' stupid they all are, right? They're sycophants, they're cultists, they're stupid. And it's the arrogance of CIG themselves who at times will sit there and act like they're doing some monumental thing that nobody has ever done. Tribes won way back in 1998, had 128 player servers running with vehicles and infantry and building that ran seamlessly in 98, and this game still can't get boxes to come up a goddamn elevator. So yes, people do want it to fail.
Fair enough.
It always gets YouTube views too, every time. You type in Star Citizen scam, you'll see videos with like hundreds of thousands.
I won't come up.
Hopefully one day you do. You deserve it.
Well, I mean, when the Blade thing came out, I did a video on how it was not pay to win, and like because there's nothing
so
to
did
win.
I.
There's nothing to win. How could it be pay to win?
And you know, people said "Oh, this is pay to win. Of course you want this because it's class warfare. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's class warfare. Rich and poor. It's like the powers that be. They try to keep the rich and the poor fighting all the time.
I used to be
Works so well.
a lot more anti monetization in games, but I've just come to the realization that most people want it.
I want it.
And
I do, 100%.
like if the game company doesn't provide it, like players erect that apparatus themselves.
Oh, it's why is the player run or the player RMT is such a real thing. People will find it. People have been buying gold since EverQuest. They've been buying gold since EverQuest. Come on, nothing new, man. No. Hey, I'm the kind of guy. If the game has a battle pass, I pay to skip it. There you go. I pay to skip it because it's freaking stupid. I don't want to do it. I got the money. I'm going to skip it.
Yeah, I'm with you. Is there any hot button issues that you wanted to talk about that I missed?
No. I think we went on quite long. I think we had a very good discussion here.
Excellent. I thought so too.
Maybe one day, if you can weather the heat of having me on his channel, I can come back on again someday.
That would be amazing. Yeah, I thought this was a great chat, and
it'll be amazing if you can weather the heat. So we'll see.
I can weather it.
We'll see. That's what they all say.
All right. Well, we'll end it here then. BuzzCutPsycho, thanks so much for coming on the channel, man. Love getting your perspective.
Oh, thank you for having me. I loved it.
Yeah, awesome. Do you want to tell folks what you're all about, where they can find you?
No, if they already know who I am.
Okay. All right. Well, it was good to meet you.
It's good to meet you too. Chat.
Hopefully, we either toss some water on a fire somewhere, or maybe just throw some kindling on it. I don't know. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and joining us. It was great having you here, and we would love to continue the conversation with you in the comments below. Until then, we're out.